What is poppin', adventurers? Max here from Witcream Media, and as suggested by a couple of our viewers, we're giving you guys an in-depth guide for the Awakening feature in World of Dragon Nest. Now, let's start by identifying the categories first. As of the moment, the maximum number of categories per stone is 4. These are identified by different colors: green, blue, orange, and purple. Each color has a different set of effects depending on the number of stones you stack. Remember that these stats appear randomly, so a lot of RNG is involved. I spent 1.2 million gold and a lot of Manticore health farming to get my current set, so you might have it better or worse, so it's best to be prepared. So for simplicity's sake, we're naming them by color and not by their actual names because we don't want to confuse you any further. So, first things first, let's explain the stat effects. First on the list, we have resist. Now, these are your resistances from certain debuffs, such as slow, freeze, shock, silence, and critical. These stats are usually just there for additional combat power and filling the gap rather than a priority. Second, we have attack. Now, this adds to your base attack damage and only appears in Orange Apocalypse, Fell Guardian, and Tidus stones. This stat is suitable for all classes. Third, we have critical and critical damage. Now, this doesn't need any explanation. These are sought after stats for most classes. One important note though, critical damage is nothing without crit rate. So try to prioritize crit rate first before crit damage. Fourth, we have penetration. This is another sought after stat but is sort of class specific. However, it doesn't hurt to have some of it. It's basically armor penetration and doesn't rely on chance to proc, unlike criticals. The reason why stacking on penetration isn't so great is simply put, monsters have a set amount of armor, giving you diminishing returns as you stack. Let me give you a simple analogy. For case 1, you have 2 apples in a basket. Then you add 1 more apple. In case 2, you have 10 apples in a basket and you add 1 more apple. You see, in case 1, you add 1 apple to make 3 apples. 3 apples versus 2 apples is a 50% increment from adding 1 apple. In case 2, you add 1 apple to make 11 apples total. 11 apples versus 10 is only a 10% increment from adding 1 apple. In both cases, you add the same amount of apples but you gain more in case 1 because you have less apples in the first place. This calculation also applies in DN as again, monsters and players have a set amount of defense. In short, stacking too much on this stat is not worth it. A rough cap should be around 9 to 11k and you should be fine. Diminishing returns also applies to crit rate and crit damage, but never on attack since that is a basic stat. Fifth on the list, we have defense. This is the cleric's best friend stat, so it basically boosts your defense. Next, we have reduce or increase PvP damage. So if you plan to hit the Colosseum a lot, make sure you have some backup equipment with these stats. Otherwise, ignore it. And lastly, we have Spirit Obtain Rate. Now this is the amount of spirit you can obtain from attacking and taking damage. This is one of the best stats for Awakening, so it's suitable for all classes. Moving on, let's break down a couple of basic sets for each class. Please note that this is not mandatory and are merely examples for good Awakening sets. Starting with the Warrior. Now, it's recommended that you have a 7-piece Orange Tidus and a 3-piece Green Manticore. Next, we have the Slayer. Same with the Warrior, so basically just get another 7-piece Orange Tidus and a 3-piece Green Manticore. Next, we have a couple of changes from the Sorceress as we will be prioritizing that Spirit Obtain Rate. So it's best if you get like 5-piece Orange Tidus and a 5-piece Purple Manticore. Next, for the Archer, it's basically the same for the Sorcerer. So just get another 5x5 piece, Orange and Purple, both Tidus and Manticore. Second to the last, we have the Cleric. Now this is where it also changes. I suggest you get a 7-piece purple Manticore for that defense on the last stat, and another 3-piece blue Manticore for some additional crit damage and penetration. Lastly, we have the Academic. Now it's similar to the Warrior and the Slayer. So basically get 7-piece orange Decidus and 3-piece green Manticore. Alright, now here is my personal take on Awakening Stones. Back in the level 50 cap, it was safe to get one 7-piece set, particularly Decidus or Fell Guardian, followed by broken down sets from different stones with different stats, such as crit rate, crit damage, or penetration. With the addition of bracelets in your equipment, you now have 10 slots to fill with your Awakening Stones. What does that mean? It means different players have different opinions, you see. They may not or may agree on stacking up Spirit Obtain rate, but it does work wonders in nests and raids as it allows you to charge up your chain skills faster. Remember, your chain skills deal the most damage out of your character, so getting there fast means faster clears. So what I did with my character is simple. Just place 2 sets of 5-piece stones. With this, I have an additional 27% Spirit Obtain rate plus a lot of other essential stats that would boost my character's power. You can opt to choose the Decidus and Manticore combo, but I prefer this one if you're on a tight budget and a free-to-play player. Again, it's not wrong to still go for stat stacking. Crit rate and penetration are good examples of stats that you might want to stack to get the most out of your character. Make sure you give it a healthy dose though, and not overstack it, and always remember the rule of diminishing returns. Thank you so much for making it to the end, and we hope this guide answered your questions about the Awakening feature. Suggestions are always welcome, so please comment down below on what you want to see next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that bell button to get notified on future videos. Peace, be nice, and we'll see you next time.